allows a doctor to practice again, saying that the way she was treated could have discouraged them from learning from their mistakes.
Dr Hadiza Bawa-Garba was struck off following the death of 6-year-old Jack Adcock. He died after developing sepsis at Leicester Royal Infirmary. Reacting to the decision, the doctor told the BBC's Panorama programme that she hoped the ruling will lead to changes in the NHS.
I'm very aware that this case goes beyond what just happened to me, a single trainee doctor. My hope is that lessons learnt from this case will translate into better working conditions for junior doctors.
Jack Adcock's mother, Nicola, says she is now considering her own legal action and is bitterly upset by the decision.
I just cannot understand how someone can be charged with gross negligence manslaughter, struck off the register by the General Medical Council, and then be reinstated. She's now been in front of 9 High Court judges. So what are those other 3 judges saying, that the other 6 didn't do their job right? I just think it's I just think it makes a mockery of the justice system.
Well, so much to talk about. Joining us now is Dr Jenny Vaughan, one of Dr Bawa-Garba's supporters. Morning to you. Thanks very much for joining us. And we heard there from Jack's mother, who is clearly upset. And she has said as well, she's concerned this sense of precedent, doctors can do what they like. What's your reaction to that?
Well, the first thing I want to say is I want to extend my wholehearted sympathy towards Jack Adcock's family here. I'm a mother myself, and I have not lost a child, and I don't know what that feels like. It's utterly devastating. But what I can tell you is this was not about protecting doctors or doctors sticking together. It was actually about trying to create a fairer, safer, just culture. And in fact, if the judgment had gone against Hadiza yesterday, it would have actually been worse for patient safety. Many doctors are actually working in critically understaffed NHS hospitals at the moment, and they're looking at what happened to Hadiza, and frankly they're saying that could be me on any day, because there were so many things wrong in the hospital that day that Hadiza was working. And Mrs Adcock's right, Hadiza was convicted of criminal gross negligence manslaughter, but actually that just looked at her actions on the day. Before that and after that, she'd had a completely unblemished career. And this isn't a reversal. The two things were doing different things. The court was looking at what happened on the day and Jack Adcock's death, and Hadiza admitted that she did make mistakes that day. The specialist tribunal was looking at whether in future she was fit and safe to practice medicine, and she learnt from this, as we all learn from our errors. She remediated, and she showed the panel that actually she was fit, and they agreed, and therefore that's why the appeal court judges were right to actually reinstate the judgment of the panel.
Okay, can I just pick you up on a couple of things just to get a bit more detail, really? You say she's learned, but this is at the price of a young boy who's died.
No, it's not at the price of Jack Adcock. Mistakes happen across the NHS every day. Thousands of people, thousands of patients die because of errors, and the only way that you can actually make patients safer is when you have staff, when they commit errors, because we're all human, having the freedom to actually speak about them. If they fear that when they talk about errors, they're going to be prosecuted, done for manslaughter, lose their livelihood, what you'll actually get is a cover-up culture. You'll get people leaving the profession or going abroad, senior doctors retiring. What you won't get is learning from errors, because that's the only way we make patients safer. So there are other examples of patients who losing their relatives, and what they've done, people like James Titcombe, Martin Bromley, who've gone ahead, they have lost relatives, and actually, I've spoken to them, we have learned as a profession from what went wrong there. We must apologise, and we must admit our errors in order to make patients safer. That's the only good things that can come out of this, because nothing can bring Jack Adcock back.
Yes.
But what we can do is learn from the mistakes of his death and not let it happen again.
I can see that, this is clearly also, for you as well, it's emotional, isn't it, as it is for everybody involved. Tell us about the learnings in this particular case. Do you think there is evidence that there have been learnings because of what happened?
Well, if you look at what happened that day, Hadiza was a trainee. She was just back from maternity leave. She'd been off for 14 months. She went into a hospital that she was unfamiliar with. She was looking after 6 wards on 4 different floors. She was looking after 75 patients that day. She was dealing with children stopping breathing, having an arrest. She was she was doing spinal taps on babies. She was completely overloaded. And if we can learn one thing from this, it is not to put trainees in that position. And the problem at the moment is too many trainees are looking at what happened to Hadiza and saying, that could be me. And if they're saying that, and then they're looking at how she got treated when she was dragged through the criminal justice system, it's been 7 years for her. That doesn't take anything away from the tragedy of what's happened to the Adcock family. But if lots of doctors are looking at what happened to Hadiza and worrying that if they make mistakes, because we all make mistakes, that the same thing can happen to them, when what we want is to learn from our errors and get that open, safe culture. And that's the best thing that can come out of this.
And I know that you were a supporter of her. Is she going to go back to practice again?
It will be a journey for her. She's still suspended by the specialist tribunal, but she will work toward that. She's done hours and hours and hours of training in recognising infection, which is what she missed here. And so many of us knowing that, and the judges recognise that she presents no greater risk than any other doctor because of all the learning that she's done from this incident. Doctors cannot be above the law. They must be held accountable. But it's the kind of deliberate, reckless, abusing doctors that we want to be held accountable by the law, not trainees that make honest mistakes, not people making honest errors on a very busy day that could happen to any of us. So that's why the judgment was absolutely right.
Jenny Vaughan, a consultant neurologist, thanks for talking to us here on Breakfast this morning. Thank you.
7:47, let's find out what's happening with the weather. Carol is out and about